Welcome back to the European League Championship Series, everybody. I'm Devin Pyrotechnics Young, and I'm stepping in at the caster desk, of course, still alongside Martin DeFicio Linga, as the Giants set up on stage to take on ROC.
We're still here, fourth game of the day.
Oh yeah, going strong.
Two teams fighting to avoid relegation. Let's see who can win.
Well, let's get right into it. Let's not waste any time at all. We're going to check out the starting lineup for Giants Gaming. That means in the top lane, it's going to be Werlib. In the jungle, it is Frederick, Pepinero, the mid laner, Audrey, the AD carry, Lothark, their coach, and of course, I forgot the sport. It's Rydal.
Yeah, and then, as we said before here, Giants trying to avoid the auto relegation. Medium Makers lost earlier today, but they won yesterday, so if they win here, they will move into number 9 in the standings. Obviously, MYM sitting as number 10. Yesterday, they had a pretty good early game against SK Gaming. They got like 5k gold ahead of them, but then we saw the same Giants problem we have seen time and time again.
Yes, but this time they had Jax.
They did, but they don't know what to do in the mid game, and it just falls apart for them. They give so many openings for the other team. Yeah,
it really was a little rough to watch when they just didn't seem to have it together, know exactly what to do. That was kind of the problem for them. It's been the problem for them all split, really. And now they have to win today. This is their last shot to keep the dream alive to go into playoffs, as slim as it still is.
And as you said before, they had the Jax on Werlib, and it's a pick for him that's been banned so many times. In 12 games, it's been taken away from him. The 2 games he played in the week 1, he won. Now they had it again. He got, honestly, a good start. He had 2 kills. He had 1 assist. He got a Trinity Force. He could start split pushing, but decided not to. Into the mid game, he went team fighting. As you saw there, he went 3-4-3. He just ended up dying left and right because Jax in a team fight before he gets any tank items is not going to do a whole lot. It was against a Maokai as well. They basically
after a while
allowed SK Gaming to get back in the game.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that really was kind of the end of it. But as we'd mentioned before, I mean, SK, they had not gotten quite back to the dominating form that we just saw. So that was kind of one of their best shots at it. Today, you know, they really, really have to make this one count. And, you know, of course, against the team like their opponents today, ROC, too, you can't take them lightly, even despite their record so far. And we're going to go ahead and take a look at their lineup, of course, on the red side. Team ROC, they currently lead the head-to-head after beating Giants back in Week 3. It is going to be Overpow in the top lane, Yankos in the jungle, mid laner, Nuke Duck, AD carry, Woolite, the support Vander, and, of course, Coach Ducky.
Yeah, and yesterday for them, they lost in 26 minutes to Fnatic. They picked Jarvan, which is not a pick I normally would put Overpower on. I don't think he's much of a carry top laner, but he got the Jarvan. It was meant to be a counter pick to Lissandra, if you look at the pick and ban phase.
Exactly,
and
then they got juked.
Yeah, clearly they didn't expect Lissandra to go to the mid lane, so once it swapped around, Lissandra went mid lane, Hecarim went top lane, suddenly Rocket were caught in a situation where they didn't really know what to do, and they just got completely stomped by Fnatic, honestly. 26 minutes, nothing they really could do. And yeah, now they have to win because MYM and Giants, they're knocking on the door here. They want to get Rocket's position, obviously still want to get out of relegation. And
exactly.
This is a team, before the split, everyone expected to do well. Now it looks like they are heading down to play against a challenger team to stay in the LCS.
Yeah, I mean, and this is such a far cry from where everyone expected Rocket to be at the beginning of the season. Teams and a lot of high expectations on them, just singing their praises, saying, oh, they're fantastic in scrims. They're pulling out all this good stuff. Nuke Duck is just going to be this absolute beast. And, you know, credit, they played very well individually in a lot of ways, but then they just fell apart. They didn't have a lot of coordination. They also had some serious issues in the longer games. And it just seems like it never came together for Rocket. They had some improvements, but it was far too late.
But this patch here, 5.5, technically, it should benefit them. Because you can play this double tank setup, and you can go to late game, which is what Rocket has liked to do in the past. You can take Overpower, who, again, is not performing well enough to be a carry top laner, put him on a tank. Yankers, obviously done a good job, but not the same kind of players we saw last year. He can play the style of Sejuani, Zac, whatever. He can play that too. And then you can still build around Woolite. They like to do, put him on a hyper carry, and try and set up a combo like that. Because whenever they played the best, it's when they're like protected Woolite, everything they got, and then he would still be able to pull it out.
That's the thing I really wanted to bring up too, because yesterday it seemed like they had a comp that should have been relatively able to do that, yet he goes ahead and picks Lucian. And it really just never got rolling. They took the 2v2 lane, and it just fell behind in items and damage. At the end of the game, I remember he was like spending Collings and just it hit the front line and it tickled.
Yeah,
Did almost nothing. Like a Kog'Maw Jinx, even Tristana would have been fantastic in that situation, but he didn't go for it.
They felt forced to do standard lanes because they had that Jarvan top lane for them, despite having Lucian into Graves. I believe it was a Graves Annie from Fnatic side, and yeah, that was a lane they weren't going to win. And it's really just been a problem. There's been so many problems for this team. We know they have good players. They clearly don't really have the correct decision-making down. And it just seems like every time something goes wrong in the pick and ban phase as well for them as a team, so they leave them in a disadvantage. And that's why they're sitting as number 8 in the standings at the moment, and Giants obviously right behind them. Somewhat the same deal here, not in terms of pick and bans, more just your shot calling in the mid to late game. It really hasn't been good enough. And we saw it against SK Gaming yesterday. They still have a great early game. That's where Rocket has been fairly weak in the past. So I do expect to see Giants win the early game again. Question is, can they then close out the game?
Yeah, that is always kind of the question. But also, is how long the game goes seems to be really proportional to seeing some really, really strange behavior out of Rocket, too. I feel like if we get into those really late game scenarios, it could get really dodgy for both these teams just because it's almost uncharted territory after a while.
And Rocket has an AD carry who likes to jump forward, also in the late game.
Yes, this is why you need the Juggernaut, because
that's why you need the protection for him, because then
or something else that
he can soak all this damage and he can still do well. I wouldn't be surprised to see that kind of composition. Obviously, again, you got to respect that early game from Giants. You got to respect Frederick and the ganks he can pull off. I still think you can ban Jax. I don't see a reason to give it to Warlip.
Yeah, I mean, that was the reason it didn't get banned yesterday. I think SK was just feeling like very, very confident and we can beat it anyways.
For sure.
And also, you know, not without a degree of success there that they let them have it. It didn't really pan out for them. I feel like Giants as a team, it really should have. That is where they had, you know, in week 1 it was the element of surprise. You got to give them that credit. But also, that just, when you've got a pocket pick like that and you still can't really do much of anything, even against a very, very strong team, admittedly, it is really troubling when, you know, that's something you fall back on and that doesn't work.
It's a concern more, obviously. We heard Svensson just before here in the interview with you saying that Giants is tough to play against because they roam around a lot. Riley's going to leave the lane. He's going to go to mid lane. We know Frederick is a very active jungler as well. So if you pick a very slow scaling composition and you're not respecting that early game, that's where you can fall behind, which is what we've seen certain teams do against Giants. And then also when you play against Giants, you can never say this game is over because they have this fantastic ability to like steal a Baron and get back in the game.
Yep, and with that, we are loading into picks and bans. Zed is taken away, followed by the Cassiopeia. We'll see if we see the Jax a bit later on, but Giants, they have the rotation right now.
Yeah, and we'll have a first pick. We know Rek'Sai is a good pick for Frederick. I've seen it being first pick quite a lot. We see a lot of teams leave it open because there's so many tier 2 junglers now that can do really well. And they like give that Rek'Sai as a first pick and then take 2 strong picks on their side. I like this ban from Giants. Avoid that Joggermore composition, which is one of the few comps that Rocket has really been able to pull off. And I wonder also for Nuke Dog here. I mean, he played Twisted Fate in week 7. I quite liked it from him. He's very good on Twisted Fate.
Yeah, he's been really mixing a lot of different things. At the beginning of the split, he tried a lot of LeBlanc with very limited success. And, you know, we've seen a couple other of the choices come in, some of the Flavor of the Month stuff, you know, cast in for a little while. And then, you know, he's kind of been picking more interesting things lately. And as you said, I think it's been a little bit of a boon to Rocket because it's hard to figure him out now.
I like at least TF against a team who roams around a lot. It does allow you to really counter-gank them. I guess the only worry could be that Pepinero will be able to control that mid lane. Not that Twisted Fate is a bad laner, he just doesn't really win his matchups. He just goes even and then he puts focus on making plays in the other lanes. And that's always been one of the concerns. When you play against Giants, it's often about Pepinero in that mid lane. He likes to play the assassins. Ahri and LeBlanc is open. I think they're talking now about, should we first pick LeBlanc now that Zed is banned and it's been one of such a common ban against Nuke who can also play these assassins? Or do we take that Rek'Sai for Frederick?
Yeah, that's kind of always the question. Do you want to focus on potentially where you think you're going to be able to step up carry individually, or do you want to go for something completely different? There we go. There's the Lulu. So this is, it's not been played a ton on Giants' side. We have seen it, obviously, by Rydell. He played 1 game on it. And then I don't believe Pepinero has, but it's a bit of a takeaway option.
Yeah, this is purely a takeaway. So this is the kind of composition we mentioned that Rocket has played in the past and won with, where you protect that AD carry. Lulu is so important in those comps because she gives so much utility. The Whimsy is great, especially late game for your AD carry, the extra damage you get. So that's the takeaway here. Rocket can then basically say, do we want LeBlanc, Rek'Sai, or do we simply want to pick towards our comp here? I mean, Jinx has been a pick Adri used in the past, but not necessarily one who could run instantly. Unless, of course, they want to do the same kind of composition. You got the Lulu already, so I feel like this takeaway is pretty smart from Rocket. Deny that protect AD carry comp from Giants denied a hyper carry.
Not only that, you know, this is the kind of thing that, as you mentioned before, they've had in some of their successes, some of the very near successes. There was a game, I think it went very, very late, and it turned out really, really close for Rocket. So this is the kind of thing that Willite likes.
And they can still go Morgana top lane for Overpower to have the Black Shield as well. Nunu jungle has been super strong already on 5.5 to be the buff of these AD carries here. So 2 takeaways. Lulu first taken away from Rocket, and then they say, you know what, we know you're going to play around your AD carry now. We're going to take the Jinx, we're going to take the Janna, so we have to protect the AD carry already built up.
Well, and yeah, in the Janna too, as obviously the tail and pass has been changed a little bit, but you still get the speed boost in the certain situations, and that's...
when you run away at least.
Exactly. When you run towards the Janna in any situation. So there we go, Giants, as it ticks down, it looks like they will be able to secure that Rek'Sai preference for Frederick. Question is, what do they take next? Yep, there's the little block.
Yeah, the few picks we were talking about. No real surprise for Pepinero, and you can see Whirlip has changed his summoners here. Normally the signals a Hecarim is coming, but I'm lying to you guys because it's been banned away. I got
tricked. He wants it, it's in memoriam.
Tricked by him changing their summoners there. Anyway, for Giants, Rydell normally likes to play supports where he can make some plays. He's very active early on in terms of roaming, so there for Lulu wouldn't really fit his style in that sense, but the same can be said for Whirlip, who's been a bit of a carry top laner whenever he could get his hands on a carry champion at least. So I wonder where this Lulu is going to end up. And for Rocket, if they want that Nunu, that's where you can buff up the Jinx. But Sejuani is still open as one of the best tank jungle picks at the moment.
And so is the Jarvan. However, I feel like Overpower might be having a little bit of nightmares about that already.
Didn't have a good game on Jarvan the last time at least. And
letting it tick down though.
They will go for it instead.
They do lock it, and the Sejuani.
I would really love Nunu here against Rek'Sai as well. It's so good to control the Rek'Sai early, but Sejuani is still a fantastic strong pick.
Every champion on Rocket's side has a J in its name. 3 of them start with it.
There you go, man.
Illuminati.
You have found the key to Rocket's pick and ban phase. They need a J in the name. So, over back on this Jarvan. I want to see what he can do. He didn't do a whole lot last time, but he was again shut down early on, well, together with the rest of the team against Fnatic. You got Sejuani Jarvan. It's a fairly decent 2-on-2 skirmish. A lot of engaged potential, obviously, coming in, and then you try and set up a few kills for this Jinx, who can then get the reset or get excited to pass her.
I wonder if this isn't to like dissuade the Lissandra pick.
But were you
Epic Mind Games.
I guess it would be good against the Lissandra top lane. Jarvan is a counter pick to her. But in this situation when Lulu has already been locked in, Lulu might as well just go top lane.
That's true. I mean, it's sort of like don't get anywhere near our carry. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so this goes back to what we talked about in the start with Twisted Fate coming in to really snowball this Jarvan here. It's a composition we saw Gambit trying to run at IEM against CJ Enters, where you simply just camp this Jarvan lane, because Jarvan is so good at setting up these kills here, and he has so much damage early. He's a bit of a lane bully. So with Twisted Fate coming in, Renekton will hold his own in the one-on-one. The problem is once Renekton falls behind, he can't do a whole lot, and that's when Nukeduck can really aim for that lane, while you have Jinx and Janna, a fairly passive, fairly safe lane. Just aimed at sitting and farming from the side of Rocket, and obviously Sejuani can join in for these ganks. So a lot of crowd control between the top few picks, obviously Cataclysm from the Jarvan, while Giants here, super mid-game focused. Renekton, he's gonna get, basically he's just gonna become a massive tank in the late game. You got that LeBlanc here. We know Pepinero needs to create the picks in the mid-game around level 16 as well. It's like the latest pod you really want to play around with LeBlanc.
Yeah.
And then of course Lucian Lulu, fantastic strong early on. Does fall behind compared to a Jinx Janna in the late game though.
Oh, well, we'll have to see how this one works for them. Now, before we get to level 1, go ahead and tweet us at LOL Esports. Let us know if you think the Giants can even out the head-to-head, or if Rocket's going to take 2-0 this split with the hashtags, of course, GIA win or ROC win. We are getting ready. We are going to load up. We've had an interesting day so far. I hope you guys are still with us. It sounds like it. The crowd is getting amped. The big EU sign goes up. The lights go down. We're going to get onto the Rift for game number 4.
It's not the first time we see Nukeduck take a bit of a tricky matchup here. You can farm on a Twisted Fate in nearly everything, but Pepinero will have the kill pressure on this LeBlanc, and he's used it beforehand. He's not shy of jumping in, aiming for these kills, even running Ghost here for Nukeduck on Twisted Fate. So he's just going to be sitting back and farming allowing Frederick and Pipinero together to make some plays.
Oh yes, now as the teams take to the Rift, let's hear what it's like playing against the constant comeback threat that the Giants do bring to the stage.
It's gonna be weird to play against the Giants, you know. Even if you're winning 10k gold, you're gonna think about the elements of the game, and you just have to approach them really seriously and not let them have a chance to come back.
Never give them a chance to come back. You remember the elements game.
Oh, we all remember that one.
30
Quick
seconds.
turnaround from Giants. It is still a thing. I mean, they keep it very cool in the game. Always trying to stay focused, aim for the steals and the comeback. So Rocket invading in, trying to spot where the lanes are going. And they, again, this Jarvan last time got into the one-on-one lane, and that wasn't the problem for Rocket yesterday. The problem was the dual lane in the bottom lane got destroyed, honestly, by the Annie Graves setup. In this case, Lululushin has a lot of early pressure in the lane. But Jarvan in a lane swap doesn't really offer a whole lot on the side of Rocket, but they are setting up for it. A lot of deep wards, even one in the lane bush on the top side to see if anyone was waiting there from Giant side.
You see them moving up, actually in mass right now to the top. And a lot of members of Giants in the middle, so this is already a little bit of an awkward start. You see...
Yeah, they're gonna swap back, yeah.
Yep, well, it's gonna take a back in the brush. So that is what's happening here.
Oh,
So far they're waiting
this
though.
is bad.
Audrey could be in some trouble. And that is why you don't face check a brush. Gonna burn his flash very quickly, but Rydell is also gonna be forced to do it. 2 summoners for the price of an exhaust. And straight to the Gromp, boys.
Yeah, so Giants very clearly wanted 2v2 lane, but they were spotted by wards running through that mid lane as well. Rocket has already swapped around, getting the 2v1 against the Renekton. And I want to see if Overpower can make some early plays on this Jarvan. Get level 2 and you have some great ganks. That's what you can do in the lane swap. They're chasing onto Rydell again. Well, I guess Rydell is chasing them, trying to stop them from stealing this blue buff.
Trying to go double team with it. It is going to get smited down, however, now they turn their attention to Rydell. Jankos moving back away from that one, not quite interested in taking the fight in case there's something else behind it. Clear Lance will connect in.
Oh, Pipinero's moving.
Yeah, this could be some trouble. Whoa, the Ignite is burned. Will it be enough to take him out? It doesn't look like it.
Good flash.
Yeah.
Some overpower. Flash used by Pipinero as well, allowing Nukedog to get the early push in this lane on Twisted Fate. So it's standard, you walk in and you throw down a few red cards on the minions in the start. Rydell's not done.
He's not stopped roaming.
Keeps looking for these 2 guys here.
Waiting in the brush, see if he can get the steal
no, didn't get it.
It's going to get taken by Jankos. Still, he really wants those buffs.
This is a level 1 Lulu with no flash, by the way.
Oh. Oh.
Following Rocket around. Overpower didn't get level 2 yet. They couldn't share the XP. So Frederick got a bit of an advantage. Stole the blue buff from Rocket. Gone back to his own jungle now. Looking for Nukedog. See if they can force a summoner.
Oh, they do.
Flash.
Very quickly, as soon as the chains are on him, he decides to bail out. Meanwhile, to the bottom lane, the quietest part so far of this game. Werlib is not really able to get involved in any of that farming action just yet, with the Jinx and the Janna sitting there.
And we have seen how both the lanes have been pushing in the side lanes here. Giants are pushing on the top side. Overpower got to teleport there, seeing as they saw the Rek'Sai in the mid lane. That was safe for him to do. No risk of him getting tower dived suddenly by Giants. So that was a good teleport from him, picking up quite a lot of farm. Same can be said about the bottom lane, because there Rocket has built up a massive wave. It's going to come into the hands of Werlib unless Jankos can get down here in time. But Frederick should know that's about to happen and be nearby. You even saw Jankos step on the trap, he also on the tunnel. So he should be here to defend for Werlib and get all this XP.
Oh yeah, should take a little bit of time though to get there. And now Jankos is coming. Double buffs are on. Frederick's a little bit low to deal with this. And now the Krugs are actually going to be started up by Jankos. So the junglers are going to meet in mid-camp.
But just by him showing himself here, Frederick on the bottom side, that secures Werlib to get all the farm. Rocket suddenly has to change strategy and try and fast push the tower instead. Not denying too much from Werlib. And obviously Overpower is already sitting in the one-on-one here. Good teleport from him before, as we mentioned. Rydell is still level 1 on this Lulu. He's been so busy roaming around, and he's now trying to help Werlib farm. This is pretty good for Overpower now on this Jarvan.
Yeah, just hits that too. So it has been a little bit of a wonky start. Meanwhile, up in the top lane, Overpower taking a little bit of damage from Audrey. You're not going to win out the Lance versus a couple of guns, that's for sure.
That's for sure. He has the cloth armor though.
And the flask, so he'll have the sustain.
Has a little bit of sustain for himself. And it's not even about him getting the farm at this point, it's just get that XP. All you need early on in the lane swap. And obviously, Giants realizing now is a chance to swap back. So you've seen the recalls. Woolite needs to be careful. If he stays in lane, he needs to push this one out and recall as well and expect this swap to come in, because he can't be caught with just a Dawn's Blade in the lane when you already have a pickaxe. So now he can just go back, and that's good timing for him. Let's see the gold. Sadly only 1200, so no BF sword, but a pickaxe as well, and will be able to return to lane in time. Problem had been, had he stayed there to push the tower, he would have been in a massive disadvantage in terms of items and would have been forced to go back at a very bad time where Giants could push in the wave and get a lot of tower damage.
Yeah, so it's nice timing. It's actually fairly even on gold between these two. Obviously, you can see the CS numbers are lining up quite nicely between them. And it seems like the game starts to settle into a little bit more normalcy.
Swap
I'd say,
around again.
yeah, okay. Never mind. Forget what I just said. Throw it out the window. Overpower. They really don't want to take this 2v2.
No, it really also feels like they're trying to nullify Frederick on Rek'Sai. So if you keep swapping around and you force the Rek'Sai to simply defend lanes in some way, then you don't have that early pressure, and Sejuani can get to a level 6. She's going to be more than fine and can start setting up ganks. And then you can start pair her up with this Jarvan, and you have a double CC combo. So Overpower back down to this bottom lane. Doing okay in terms of farm, because both the lanes were pushing in the lane swap.
Yeah, he's able to scavenge a little bit here in this situation. Whirlip's not going to be quite so lucky unless the wave pushes into him, as it's going to be in just a moment. Overpower does take a little bit of damage from Rydal. Has to back away. He does have a Sejuani on his side of the map, but you know, not quite level 6 yet, so that may be a bit off.
Yeah, but he should be safe for any tower dives, because he's already, as you said, level 5 here. Meaning, if Frederick doesn't show himself in the top lane, then Rocket is going to fast push this one down with the Jinx. And seeing as he's not even close to this point, there's going to be quite some damage. And this is what Rocket can do as well by keep swapping. Jinx is so good at pushing towers, especially when she gets a shield from a Janna as well. And obviously Renekton can't do anything in the 2v1 to stop them. So they need Frederick to show himself, and then again, he has no ganking presence if he's sitting in that lane with a Renekton.
Exactly, trying to keep him occupied as much as possible, neutralize that threat. Peppy, meanwhile, back to the mid lane, has been a little bit more quiet, has a slight level advantage. Frederick is behind him there, but they're pinging him out so they know exactly what is up. I actually wanted to talk a little bit about the Twisted Fate and LeBlanc matchup to Fischio, but I feel like this game has just had way too much other things going on here. Meanwhile, down in the bottom, we're going to see Overpower tries to take a quick trade, not too heavy there. You can see the fan vote, though. Giants fans are coming out and representing huge, 72% of the win.
Always a lot of fans here. 5 guys from Spain. Trying to stay in the LCS now. Jarvan has hit level 6, so you can set up a gank. Nukedog is moving.
There's the Destiny. He's going to get the gold card out on Audrey. Throws out some wild cards as well. The heal is popped the culling as well. Overpow tanking a lot of it on the back side, and he could be in some trouble as Whirlip with the teleport coming in. Overpow, he's going to go down. Oh, the flash! No, that's not what you want. First blood, however, is exactly what Audrey does want.
And what happened right there for Rocket? TF came down, Opa was just running, he didn't use flash to engage in first combo, he just waited and waited and waited. You can see on Nukedog, he turned around, running back to his own tower because the teleport were coming, and Nukedog, and Opa kept running in, engaged, ends up dying for flashing the wall. Miscommunication. It's not the first time we see that between Overpower and the rest of his team here. Meanwhile though, Woolite did get a tower in the top lane. We talked about that Jinx and the fast pushing.
Oh yeah, but the Giants aren't done on the bottom side of the map here. Looks like they will secure the first dragon of the game. Jinx is going to keep on pushing. No counter threat, no teleport available. It's going to be just a minute before it's going to be able to, anyone's going to be able to defend that. But you can see taking the safe route, Woolite is already backing away.
Yeah, but he did his job. There's again also why they swap him around. Now he can go down to the bottom lane with that early tower and a PF sword. So it's looking good now for Woolite on this Jinx. He's obviously going to be the main, or one of the main carries in the late game.
It's a good Giants trade, though. I mean, they get the kill, they get the
kill, tower,
and they get a dragon on top of it. Now Yanko's going to run smack dab into Pepe. Narrow the gold card as well. Pepe never had a chance to react as they stacked the CC on him and just collapsed for a counter kill.
Now, 4 guys in mid lane. Beautiful setup from Rocket Opal. Doesn't really have a lane he can go to because you're sending Jinx. So let's see before here. Notice how Nuclear comes in, so he chooses Adri first. This is where Opal needs to just combo down towards him, force him to dash away. But notice TP, Nuclear sees it and runs away, and then Opal jumps in on his own. Clear miscommunication here and a big mistake from Rocket. And then in the end, the last flash here failing as well.
Yep, that is a little rough. Woolite now back down to the bottom with Vander looking to finish the job they started earlier. 10 minutes into this game, we will have a 2-tower-to-1 score, as Warlib is not going to be able to stop this from happening.
And that's really the thing Rocket can keep doing in this game here. When you have a Twisted Fate going for Lich Bane as well, pick a card and everything, that's a lot of damage on the tower. Then you add in the Jinx with the Janna shield. These towers here, as long as they can move between the lanes faster than Giants, they will always get a few hits on it. And that's all they need to just poke them down. 2 towers now from Warlib, but you can see how Giants is trying to do exactly the same. The reason this is okay for Rocket is because the mid game is so heavily in favor of Giants in this case. So if they keep trading objectives, Rocket will get faster to that late game point where they can start outscaling the Giants' composition.
Exactly. I feel like Giants may have picked this particular composition for a reason, though. They do like thrive in that situation. There's the rocket, but Warlib's going to flash it immediately. And also, you've got the Void Rush here. Frederick could try to collapse, but his presence was alerted. They're going to back away immediately. As up in the top lane, Rydal and Audrey finish the job on that turret. So trading objectives, as you mentioned, it is 2-2. And they're back at it in the bot lane, too.
Then it's going to be next target. Pepinero is going to sit in here, though, and try and do his best to defend with all these outer turrets gone. As long as you still have your mid tower alive, you can control the vision around most of your entrances to their own jungle. It's going to be the key thing. So we've seen one gank so far from Nukedog on this Twisted Fate, which resulted in a kill to Giants, but not because of him. And his mid tower is still fairly healthy in here, despite Pepinero having all the pressure in the lane.
So now we've slowed down for just a moment. There's been quite a lot of action. Not so many kills, but quite a lot of attempts to start this one off, and the towers have been falling pretty quick. But take a look at the way the 2 junglers have been building. Of course, it's not too different than what we'd expect. The Cinder Hulk, I think there's a stat about how much it's been winning lately.
At least yesterday won all the games.
But you're not going to build it on a Rek'Sai, so you've got the Warrior and Champ.
It would be a little bit strange at least.
Just a little bit. So Frederick going back to the tried and true Warrior, but it's definitely not been able to get as involved. Neither of the junglers really have been able to get super involved. There was Jankos in the mid lane. But so far, compared to the rest of the laners, it has been a little more quiet from their front now. Does that about change? Meanwhile, there's no dragon to contest, but everyone's hanging out by the pit. Looks like Rocket have successfully scared the Giants away.
Yeah, I'm getting to that point of the game where Giants want to try and create a few plays. We see them already grouping around this mid tower. There was a recall coming in from Overpower and Jankos. The tower here will take a lot of damage. I like the play here from Giants. If you get down this mid tower, you really open up the map. And when you're playing against a Twisted Fate, the deeper in you can get your wards, the easier you can spot where he's going with his ulti, making it very tough for Nukedog to suddenly find a gank.
Yeah,
I like the play.
Okay, he runs in and takes a little more damage than he bargained for bailing out. Frederick, meanwhile, is going to back away himself. And yeah, it's all about getting that vision down and make sure the Destiny doesn't catch you by surprise. Light and Vander try not to be caught by surprise themselves with Peppy jumping in and out. Audrey Rydal still threatening. Here comes Pepinero backing away as the rocket hits him in the back of the head. Tower defended so far for now, and Dragon's a minute and a half away.
You see Rocket now, they've defended the mid lane, splitting out this 1-3-1, getting farm on all the carries. Opa in the top lane, Nukedog at the bottom lane, and then you see Jinx. Once she gets the static shifts, he's going to provide some decent wave play in the mid lane as well for them. And you don't really want to move that immobile AD carry to a side lane, especially not against the LeBlanc. That's very risky for him. A lot easier to stay alive in this short mid lane, where you still have a tower you can retreat to as well. Giants, if them who has basically needs to make the plays, Nukedog might keep his ulti and use it defensively instead of forcing anything. I mean, Jankos is going to heavily outscale a Rek'Sai in terms of team fighting in the late game. That's why so many of these teams like the double tank setups. And yesterday, Overpower, he went Tiamat into just pure tank on the Javelin. That's because he fell behind as well. He can still do the same here and just aim for team fights, because it's going to be about protecting Woolite more than anything else. And if you have a big beefy front line and a Janna, that's basically all you can ask for.
Exactly. Try to keep the protection on there. Peppy, meanwhile, is going to be trying to pull the assassination attempt off. Same with Frederick. I mean, we've seen some crazy Rek'Sai flanks, really, but Giants, the question is, are they going to be coordinated enough to pull this one off? And Peppy is just going to immediately flash Fearing for the gold card. That is a key summoner down, as Rocket now are the ones trying to push in the middle.
Now again, remember how fast Rocket can take down a tower. You got the picker card here, you've got the Jinx. Look at this tower here. Already down for Rocket. That was a quick move in the mid lane, just saying you have no time to react. We saw Adri here doing the red buff, so simply no wave clear from Giants, and that was such a quick tower.
Oh,
Dragon
yeah.
being set up. Is there going to be a teleport? There's 2 wards behind Rocket here if Whirly wants to join to stop this one.
Now's got to be the time to do it. It's already less than
They're
half
giving
its
it
health. They're totally not going to try and contest that. It does go over to Rocket. That is their first of the game. Peppy's going to try to answer back in the mid, but he's not got quite enough damage to the mini wave. They're going to hope it finishes off, but no, the Janus shield will deny them that as the cavalry arrives to clear out the waves.
Try to trade it here. Giants composition as well. Because they don't really run any sort of hard engage, it's going to be like a Renekton and a Rek'Sai coming from 2 flanks and then Paper Nero trying to look for that pick. They really cannot afford to fall behind in terms of division control. And in this case here, because Rocket made that play in the mid lane, they moved straight to Dragon. Giants decided to give it up and said we couldn't really find a proper engage, even though I feel like they had a ward they could teleport to if they wanted to set it up. But anyway, they're back in the mid lane. They're trying to do the same, pushing that tower. Nukeduck is gone to the bottom lane. This should be a tower.
Should be. It's not going to take too much to knock it over, but how much do Giants fear this Rocket defense? Yanko's just standing there,
Rocket
daring
can
them to
engage
make
here.
a stay.
If Nukeduck ulti's in, they might want to go for this one. Jankos is setting himself in position. Is he going to throw the ulti?
It's very low, but they're saving it right now.
Yeah, they're
Giants,
respecting it.
they don't seem to want to commit too much, and I feel like they're just not confident in their ability to scrap.
Yeah, you can't really be caught under the enemy tower there. So I guess I was a little bit early on them getting that tower because you have to respect the amount of CC coming. If you get caught by a Sejuani ulti,
Right under the tower.
right under the enemy tower, and then a TF porting in, it's not going to be a good situation. And they can still just keep poking this one down slowly.
Peppy's also been having some real trouble with those chain combos too. He's really trying to get huge chunks out of the enemy squishies, but it's just not happening for him.
Flash farm either. It's obviously used before. So in this case, I mean, Rocket right now can be happy. You can just sit back, you can keep farming, you defended your mid tower still, you know where Giants is going to put all their focus on that one lane, and you simply wait for your teleport to be ready again for overpower, and you just keep wave clearing, keep going towards the late game. At this point here, there's a lot of gold for Woolite. And he's just spent all of it on the Infinity Edge.
And he's got the Avarice Blade now. We'll give him a little bit of passive stuff. It's about the same mirrored on the other side by Audrey, but the real difference is how these two are going to scale later on the game goes. Rocket, as you mentioned, they're in a very comfortable position as long as Giants don't make any massive plays.
If Woolite shows himself in the bottom lane, then Giants should go straight mid lane with all 5 guys and just push in that tower, because now you can see all the threats from Rocket, and you know the AD carry isn't there, and this tower is so low. Once you get this tower down, again, use the information of the AD carry being bottom side, move into that jungle, start placing a few wards. You can see the Jinx, go into the top side of the jungle here, go behind Overpower, place down these wards here, force him back as well, and suddenly you now have 2 lanes in the mid and the top lane that you can get some pressure in. Already see Giants do exactly that. And this is purely from Woolite showing himself in the bottom lane on this Jinx here. As long as you send Whirly back in time to defend this tower, you're not going to lose anything from doing this. You're just going to gain control over the jungle.
Yep, so far they've followed those steps to success to a T. See a couple of backs coming in here as Rocket have moved in to defend, but also Woolite's not going to try to push too deep in enemy territory. They know this could be a big risk. There's the back already from Whirlib Complete. He's got his teleport up and available, of course, so they have a slight timing window on Overpow for that. It's going to be a while for the next Drake, and a lot of wards littering that Rocket jungle for Giants.
And the next Drake is what Giants needs. Rocket doesn't really have a reason to go into their own jungle, and you have a Twisted Fate in case you have to run that route to check if anyone is setting up a trap. So it's going to be a bit tough for Giants to play around the picks in that case. So they might just want to wait for this dragon to spawn, set up control around it, put Pebernero in a bush with a pink ward, and then have Rocket simply walk in and face shake this LeBlanc, who's going to assassinate someone. And that's a way for you to at least start a fight. But again, Nukeduck can check where Pepinero is hiding with his ulti.
Yeah. But on Giants, though, they're the ones with the superior vision control right now. You've got the double Sightstone, obviously, coming in for him. It hasn't been completed yet for Rocket, or if Jankos is not going to go for it. And they've definitely been trying to make sure that they have tabs on Nukeduck anytime and any place. But they're still afraid to really make massive plays.
Still
going really deep. They have been getting control.
This is fine. This is what they should do. It looks like Rocket wants to fight though.
There's
Whirlib
the
is not
Destiny.
there yet.
Nice bullet comes out. Frederick is the one getting chunked down. He gets knocked up and he's in the cage as well. Overpow taking him out. Rydal, meanwhile, trying to save his own life. Overpow burning down. The culling just barely tipping him in the back. It's actually Pepinero that picks up Overpow. Jankos chasing Werlip. The rocket comes in. It doesn't connect, but still, Rocket are on the chase. They found 3 members and only giving up Overpow. Where they go from here, though?
So Giants wanted to move in and set up for the Dragon, as we talked about how that was a way they could use this pick potential of Pepinero. The problem was he was still in the mid lane running to the rest of his team. Werlip was in the bottom lane as well, had to TP in after the engage, and Rocket is running so much hard engage. Twist the Fade ulti, you got the Jarvan, you got the Sejuani to start the fights. Giants simply didn't respect that. Ends up losing in the mid game. More kills to Rocket.
Let's take a look at it again.
Yeah, so you can see, look at the minimap here. Werlip is in the bottom lane and Pepinero is in the mid lane, so they went in too early on the side of Giants, didn't respect the engage coming. And now it's basically a lost fight already because you've blown all your flashes defensively. Werlip does come in the end, doesn't really have an impact because Nugget stuns him up very nicely here, and Woolite obviously just sitting in the back line on this Jinx, cleaning house together with the rest of Rocket. That was supposed to be your moment for Giants.
Now it just kind of turned into giving up some more control. The Dragon's now live. Rocket have the Crab Shrine. They have all the vision control on that side. And even though there is a massive Giants moving in towards it and actually trying to clear that one out, they gave this up. So now the game's changed just a little bit. Giants trying to take this one quickly. Guerrilla Warfare, see if they commit to it. They might be a little skittish though. See if Rocket can contest.
Look at his mid lane here, pushing in top lane as well. If Giants loses this fight, they might lose 2 tier 2 towers as well, meaning it will be near impossible for them to come back. It's such an important one. Notice how Rocket is just baiting it because they know the minions are doing work on the towers. Just keep running around. Okay, Smite went over to Rocket.
Going to go over to Rocket. Now Giants, after committing pretty heavily, they're going to be the ones in some serious trouble. Woolite picking up Frederick. Werlip, as big as he is, can they take him out? Looks like they can. It's a double kill. Going wild for Woolite, and he does not have his Rocket ult available to clear off Audrey, but 2 kills is certainly good, and they're looking for even more as Rydal now isolated from the rest of his team, chased down by Overpow and Vander trying to get away through the lane. But here comes Woolite. It's Vander that actually picks up the kill. All the same, they're still looking pretty hot.
And off in the end, but again, I mean, Rocket in these team fights, Giants can never get the flank. They can never get the right engage. I mean, they have no way of really starting the fight here, and again, Pepinero can never get to the back line because Rocket has full information on where they are at all times and just plays around it. They're the ones starting the fights. You use your Sejuani, use your Jarvan, and also these minions did quite some damage. At least the top tower dropped down to 40% tier 2 top tower here from Giants. Just by the minion waves coming in. And as you can see there, it's a must-win for Giants if they want to stay in the playoff race. Not really the goal for them, they just want to stay in the LCS.
Yep, that is still going to get harder and harder if they do drop this game. They would, of course, go down to a 4-12 record if that's the case. Let's take a look at this Dragon fight.
Look at it again here. They can see everything. Pepinero even just used his ulti, used his entire combo on trying to steal the Dragon for Giants, and if you do that, the fight is already over because you invested so much onto just the Dragon and objective, and that's also why Rocket can win it. Notice how Woolite just standing in the back, all safe. His big tanks are in front of him. Oh, Overpower is dying again though.
Yes, and Peppy could follow. Woolite didn't quite get that, but the Rocket is going to miss. Well, it's not done though.
Oh, next one.
There's the dash, but here comes Jankos. However, they may have checked too far. Get excited, and Jankos throws the Glacial Prison at Pepinero, sends him back to Fountain. He gets a double kill after the fact. Werlip now going down. That's gonna get picked up by Woolite. Audrey, oh my goodness, that's the triple and the ace, and it looks like we're heading for Baron.
Yeah, straight to Baron. You got teleport for Overpower as well in 5 seconds in case he is needed. Giants were the ones who tried to get a pick first with Pepinero, and then Rocket simply just comes in from behind there, cleans up the rest of Giants. Baron, 24 minutes in, you outscale them. This is looking great for Rocket.
Absolutely.
Keeping the pressure. So let's see. They want to get a pick here in Overpower first. Pepinero, he honestly wanted Woolite, but saw Overpower jump the wall. Nice little pick up for him. But look at the minimap again. Rocket is way earlier moving up here. First one misses. And then Yang is like, well, I got an ulti as well. This one is a bit tougher to dodge. And the rest of Giants simply unable to do anything. That will get excited for Woolite, made him able to kite around as well.
Oh yeah. Once you start snowballing off the kills, it's really easy to start cleaning things up, and you could see how this one ended. and it netted Rocket a massive pickup. A lot of gold onto the Jinx, some gold onto your tank jungler, and a Baron. Let's see what they do with it in the next 3 minutes. 25.5 into the game. They do lead by a wide margin, and it is getting stronger.
And we see here for Jankos a bit of a change compared to what other junglers have done. We still see people go sidestone on these big tanks. We see them go locket as well. No, Jankos is saying, I'm a real tank here. I'm a real man. I'm a grown-up. I'm not going to go sidestone. I'm not going to go for a locket. I'm just going to build pure standard tank items. So he's extremely hard to kill now. Locket has gone to Vander instead. And they have this greater stealth totem on overpower. So that's where they get their vision from. And I quite like that because it really makes you able to be a big frontline tank.
Well, and they're able to just completely rush down here with the Baron buff minions and having a Jinx that's got some serious damage with the Shiv completed and an extra BF sword on top of that with the Eye Edge. They just clear these objectives so quickly, and it's all going to be on Peppy trying to move in, Frederick trying to move in, but they just don't have the damage that they need to pick off key targets. And there's a lot of protection here for Roccat too.
And you can see what Nuke is doing. He picks his stun, and then he waits for Pepinero to jump in, and then whenever he does, he just auto-clicks on him, whoop, throws the stun, and even when Pepinero jumps back, he takes a lot of damage for it, and it makes it nearly impossible for him to get a pick, like it's been all game long here. Rocket has been in control. Second rocket that missed.
Yes, Frederick does dodge that one out. However, the inhibitor is still going to fall down, and they're still running wild through the base of Giants Gaming. This time, they're going to take the safer route and move out. Start to clear out the other waves. They've got a bit of one building on the bottom side. The Rek'Sai ult's actually coming. Well, they mistimed the backs here. Peppy's going to go back. Didn't quite have enough damage to assassinate as Nuke was still there. Very dangerous. Giants still taking some risks now, trying to chase Jankos and overpower away.
Massive Sejuani running around.
The flankers are flanked. Oh, goodbye Rydal, goodbye Frederick. It's a double kill going over to Nuke, and all of a sudden Rocket's like, all right, we'll just take another inhibitor.
Looking so good for Rocket. I mean, at this point, when you got such a good comp and you played it so well, there shouldn't be any way for you to really lose the game.
Like to say when teams snowball, but this is looking more like an avalanche. The Rocket on the Pepinero's not going to connect there. All the same, they still grab themselves a couple of inhibitors, able to back out safely. Great use of that Baron buff. 35 seconds now on the Dragon.
Perfect.
They can pick up number 3, get themselves some extra move speed. It's already been pretty hard for Giants to catch up to them in this race.
Yeah, 3 items on Woolite now. Nuke as well just managed to complete the death cap. And obviously this big manly Sejuani.
Don't forget the Jarvan too.
Well, Jarvan as well, yeah. I mean, Opa has been just gone the same route. Tiamat, this time he put in a Hexdrinker, but otherwise he's just gone tank otherwise, and he's just acting as a main engaged tool for Rocket and been able to do well in the fight. And like Jankos here, 28 minutes in, is sitting on 3,300 HP. And at the same time, 175 armor. I mean, this is a very, very tanky jungle already. A bit tough to go. So Giants setting up a small trap. Let's see if anyone is gonna face check that bush, because obviously Rocket will want to go to the bottom side. It's the last few towers they need.
They don't move in time, and now Jankos.
Oh, that's the tank.
Yeah, they still are able to chunk him out pretty hefty there, but there is the Monsoon to keep him alive. Meanwhile, Rydal in some trouble dodging away from the skill shots. And there's the Rocket. Wild Growth will keep him alive for now, but the zap also won't hit him. Still, Rocket's still on the offensive. They've got one more inhibitor to take here. They've already had to send Wordlet back to defend. Peppy just keeps eating these after the time. And the Rocket, or excuse me, and the tower is going to go down. I got Rockets on the brain with Woolite the way he's been launching these.
Woolite really not been able to get any kills on his ulti. Always getting denied. Someone juking it or barely.
He's still 6 enough.
Yeah, he is. Oh,
can't complain.
Of course. This is just a very small thing for him. He's done what he should. And these towers, they drop down so fast.
Oh yes, Werlip gonna try to make the last-ditch effort here, diving in the back. Frederick is also there, but Overpow getting the jump on the rest of them. He's actually going to evaporate, but they're buying the time for the super minions in the top side of the base. It's a double kill going over to Woolite. The last inhibitor is gonna go down, but they don't even need it right now. With the minions, it looks like they can just end the game. The last Nexus turret is gonna go down straight to the Nexus. It's not even 30 minutes into Fischio, and it looks like Rocket are gonna add another win to the score column.
Clean victory from Rocket here. No real problems against Giants. Controlled the game from the start, had the better composition in the late game. I love the way they played around the Jinx and the fast pushing ability. Kept swapping Woolite into the Renekton here, just push down these towers, giving them quite a lead early on, at least around the first few fights, where they really managed to punish Rocket here. Oh, sorry, punish Giants.
Oh yes, indeed. And we've got some faces of relief here as they go and shake hands with Giants Gaming. Smiles from Pepinero there. And you know what, this win, it's obviously still a very tough climb for them to you know, to get potentially into the playoffs, but also to avoid the relegation zone. What does this mean for them going forward into the last 2 games, into their last week in the LCS here, week 9 coming up?
Yeah, I mean, at least now for Rocket, you can look at the auto relegation spot and say that should be gone for us. I mean, we have 2 more games to play. We got a few wins in our hands here. Problem is, you're still sitting at, as you said, as number 8, so that's still down in the relegation or promotion tournament. Sorry, you got to face one of the challenger teams. They're obviously chasing elements for this number 7 spot, the safe spot where you don't go to promotion tournament and you don't go to playoffs. You just prepare for next split, which could be very important for, again, a team like Rocket, who's clearly had a lot of problems with this somewhat new lineup. I mean, Nugdog came in, Woolite joined from the Copenhagen Wolves, and there are things for them to work on. If they are as good as people say in scrims, if they can find that level in the LCS for next split, if they manage to requalify or stay in the LCS, that's obviously the goal here. While
Exactly.
Elements are looking more towards the Copenhagen Wolves and trying to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, so for them, you know, obviously it's been a little bit of a disappointing split, but you know, getting some strength towards the end is important, and to build up your confidence going into the next one. So that, yeah, that's a big thing for them. I think this win was especially important because they did it very cleanly. They played the type of composition that they've been wanting to all split, and this time it worked out really well for them.
It did. I mean, from them choosing the lane swaps to fast pushing down towers, Nugdog basically just sat back in the mid lane and said, you know, Pepinero, I'm not going to die to you. You need to get fed for Giants to win. And then we just saw them be better in terms of, you know, teamwork and strategy. So they knew how to play against this comp here from Giants. Knew there was barely any types of engage. So as long as we don't like randomly face check into a choke point or whatever, we will be fine. And that was just, you know, well played. I like the play from Woolite on Jinx. And obviously this massive Sejuani from Jankos doing well.
Yeah, and this time the Jarvan worked out pretty well for Overpow. All around, they did well, but for Giants on their side, the troubling thing, it seems to continue, the trend. They just can't quite get their synergy up. They can't quite bring themselves to make a decision. They were camping out in the brush trying to catch somebody. They were trying to contest for a dragon. And it just seemed when they finally went, it was sort of like, okay, now or never, but we were already a second too late.
Yeah, basically, again, it's been the problem for Giants for such a long time, is they don't really have that clear game plan. They don't have the strategy to say, what are we going to do next? How are we going to use our comp, the current mid-game spike we were supposed to have when you play like Lucian, LeBlanc, Renekton? How are we going to use it effectively to get a lead? That's where it's missing for them. Still, people have to remember, they qualified as the last team. They lost to H2K in the expansion tournament and then had to beat Recent Gaming to get in the LCS. So they came in as number 10. And again, as we've said so many times, they made it clear we had to only just stay in the LCS. And we do see there's a gap between them and the other team. Still, they managed to pull off some great victory.
That's definitely true. Now, for a closer look at that game, we're going to hand it back to Shox and Cyanide over at the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Pyrotechnics. Now, with that loss, Giants' postseason hopes come to an end. So let's pull up the tables and check out the playoff picture after that one. MYM and Giants are out of the playoff. Roccat and Elements are currently out of the playoff position, but they can still make it in with 3 spots up for grabs. And as of now, only SK, Fnatic, and H2K have clinched a playoff spot. Another bit of, well, trivia. If Elements lose their next game, that means all the teams with 9 wins on the board, that is both Unicorns of Love and Gambit, will have clinched their playoff position. And it will go between the Wolves, Roccat, and Elements for that last playoff spot. But that is only if the Elements don't manage to win their next game. So so much on the line in the next one as well. But as said, Giants, they are out. And to be honest, they had also said in the last couple of videos and when we've talked to them, we just got to make sure that we stay out of that relegation zone, or actually sure that we not get relegated. This is only their first season. But here, it was a little surprising to me that yesterday they could do so much in the early game, and now they didn't play to it at all.
Yeah, it was just the story of the game. Rocket kept lane swapping, denying the 2v2s and 1v1s, where the Giants team comp was very strong. Like, what they needed to do is just get ahead on lane and then roll all over Rocket, but Rocket played really smart, just swapping the lanes all the time, and they managed to get off the early power spike, and then they were just methodically pushing turrets and winning the game slowly. Like, Giants didn't even try to do anything. They were just trying to respond to Rocket's plays, which is not the way to win when you have this kind of an early composition.
Yeah, and at what point, if you're stepping into one of those games and you have to follow the other team around to get that lane you want, at what point can't you just say, no, stop, we're going to take the lane as it is now and just try to work off that?
Yeah, it was a bit weird. Like at some points, Rocket was taking Dragon, and then there was the jungler of Giants was just behind the Dragon pit, like thinking, oh, maybe I should try to steal it or something. And then Pepinero is pushing mid lane alone, like instead of his team just going there and pushing together, in which case they would have had that mid turret, which is very important to get.
Yeah. In his defense, though, Frederick has stolen a couple of legendary Barons a couple of weeks ago that secured them some games. So why not try for that Dragon Steel, of course. What did you make of the top lane picks? Yesterday we saw Overpower on Jarvan already, and now versus Renekton, I feel like Warlip kind of could have gone for something more powerful.
Yeah, it just it would have worked probably if it was 1v1, but they just kept swapping the lanes and Renekton was completely useless. You need to win your lane early, but that chance was denied by Rocket.
So Rocket walks away rather with a win here. A decisive one is something they need. They're up against the Copenhagen Wolves and MYM next week in that crucial last week for them. How far do you see them going of what we've seen from the Copenhagen Wolves and MYM?
I think Rocket has a pretty good chance. This game they had a solid game plan and they just kept doing the thing that they probably had planned. And if they just keep having such good strategies, I see them doing good things against MIM and Wolves specifically that are not strategically that strong of teams.
Of teams, yeah. Well, we will see next week, but we still have one game coming up here. Of course, coming up next, Gambit Gaming will look to solidify their playoff standings against Elements, who are fighting to preserve their seat on the LCS stage as the split comes to a close. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with all the action.
Fourth game of the day. Two teams fighting to avoid relegation. Let's see who can win.
Nice bullet comes out. Frederick is the one getting chunked down. He gets knocked up and he's in the cage as well. Overpow taking him out. Rydal, meanwhile, trying to save his own life. Overpow burning down.
Massive Sejuani running around.
The flankers are flanked. Oh! Goodbye, Rydal. Goodbye, Frederick.
I use shield on Jinx.
Start Renekton.
Rek'Sai, Rek'Sai.
Renekton.
And it looks like Rocket are gonna add another win to the score column.